Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're brand new, welcome. I'm super glad to have you here. My name is Jessica, also known as Chicprofessor on Instagram, and I make videos on luxury goods, the pre-loved market, and workwear. And today's video is another combination of all three. As you can see from the thumbnail and title, I am going to be discussing this bag. So it's a little bit of a reveal, but you can kind of already see it. I will tell you, this is a Louis Vuitton Neverfull in the Damier Ebene print in the MM size, and I will tell you what fits inside and why I finally chose to buy it after going back and forth multiple times, and kind of give you, a little reveal of this particular version of the Neverfull. So let's go ahead and get started. So here it is. I'll show you quickly what fits inside. This is the MM video. I'm not going to do a big review on this because there's a ton out there, so I'm not really going to worry about it too much. But it is the red lining. It has a bunch of stuff in it, but the biggest thing is folders. I can easily fit folders. I could easily fit a computer. It fits many things, but for me the biggest thing is always, can it fit folders? And it can without a problem with strapping and connecting the two pieces here. It still very easily fits, so it's the perfect size for that. It is an early one, so it doesn't have the pouch, but it does have the pocket, and I very easily fit my wallet and keys and anything like that in there. So that is what fits. On the bottom, I'll sort of take a few things out. On the bottom is a piece of cardboard that my husband cut to fit as a base shaper. We rounded the edges, so I don't have to worry about it messing with that. I did prefer a base shaper because when I put these things, even though they're not super heavy, it's not anything really heavy like a computer, but when I put these things in it, the bottom did sag a bit, so now it's pretty good at holding its shape. I didn't particularly feel the need to have a bag organizer. I really just needed the shaper. I think that an organizer is a little bit too bulky sometimes, and I didn't really need all of those compartments. I kind of needed everything to sort of fit like a black hole. That's easier to get to sometimes when this is what I'm carrying. So I am happy with the base shaper. I think that that is all that was necessary. So that's what fits inside. In order to give you sort of an idea of this particular bag, I'll sort of do that as I'm talking about my pros and cons. So for me, there was never any question that if I got the Neverfull, it was going to be in the Damier Ebene. It's not only really my favorite pattern, but I did like the treated straps, and I don't love monogram because I find it a little bit loud. And so especially with this bag, because it is something that's more well-known, I like for it to be a little more toned down, and I don't love the azure print as much as I like the Damier Ebene. And also, again, the Ebene has that treated leather, which I do like because it does rain and snow a lot here. Not that I will necessarily use the bag in that weather. So that there was really no question about that. I find that is the most classy. So in terms of cons, why I sort of stayed away from the Neverfull for as long as I did. First, it's really hard to find a good deal on a Neverfull. They still hold their resale value very well on the pre-loved market, and I just wasn't willing to pay a huge amount. I considered maybe buying this new, but since I have been going back and forth about it enough, I wanted to make sure that when I did buy it, I bought it at a price where I could resell it and make my money back, if not make a little bit of profit. So when I did find this particular one for a very good deal, I felt safe in trying it out because, again, I'm not super worried about losing a bunch of money. So that was a pro for this particular one, was that I found it at a great price. A con, of course, for the Neverfull is that it's kind of everywhere. So it is a super popular bag and everybody loves it, and you see it all the time. In the area I live in, there aren't a ton of luxury goods just around. People don't carry them very much, but when they do, it's almost always this bag. Every once in a while you get a Speedy, but it's usually Louis Vuitton, and it's usually this bag. On the campus where I work, I'm an adjunct professor, and many of my students use this bag as their daily work bag. I teach at a private university, and it's pretty affluent, and so and it's also a very fashionable university. We have a fashion program and things like that, and so generally people are into style and fashion and have a little bit of money, and so maybe they've invested in luxury. So you see this bag all the time. I am a very young professor, and I try to stand away from my students. I don't try to blend in like a student. I want to appear as a professional, and so usually I dress very professionally. although my whole spiel is, right, you can still be young and feminine and flirty and all of those things that you like in your style, right? I like for your identity and your style to be expressed even in workwear. You can do that, so I do try to do that. And so I definitely thought that this was the best print in terms of that. I tend to see this and the monogram the most. Again, if I want to stick away from logos and look more professional, this is the one to go, but this was still a bag that I saw all the time. It is a great school bag, one reason being it can hold so much and because it is kind of floppy. So another con for me was that it doesn't have much structure. I just prefer structured bags, but I also think that they look more professional, more briefcase-like, so to speak. The base shaper definitely helped with this one, but it is a little bit more floppy than I would normally do. I did realize that I usually am not like holding my bags while I'm lecturing, right? They're kind of off to the side. So it's not as big of a deal in terms of which bag I'm carrying. But again, if I'm just walking through campus, I do want to look professional as opposed to blending in with students, which it's very easy for me to do. If I'm working out there and then I'm walking in my workout pose, I 100% look like an undergrad. And so I try to stick away from that. So that was a con. However, the popularity of this bag, it is so loved. That's also a pro. So yes, it's everywhere because of that, but also there's a reason everybody loves it. And I just kind of decided, you know what, to heck with it, right? Like I want to know what all the love is about. And so I had multiple Dame Ben totes. I had the Chelsea, I had the Soleil. I've looked at others and honestly, I don't love the other ones, either the coloring of them or the designs, sometimes where the pockets are, right? I feel like it takes away from the professionalism. I like sort of a streamlined, sleek look. And so, although this one isn't as professional as other ones, I didn't love those for a variety of reasons, and you can watch the videos about them. But I really wanted basically the Neverfull, but with a zipper across, and that didn't really exist, not in a perfect bag. And so, and of course, no bag is perfect. I have done the Brea GM, which I do really like. I wish that was a little bit bigger, but that's in an epi leather, and so it's a little bit different than the canvas and a little bit less, obviously, Louis Vuitton. So that is that. Other cons that I knew about were the issues with the handles. So I know that these handles are supposed to be less comfortable than the Vachetta. I don't find that to be a problem, though I wouldn't personally carry this with much more inside, mostly for the base, not really for the handles, but any bag that you're stuffing and carrying is gonna be uncomfortable if it's really heavy after a while, any kind of tote style. So that wasn't so much of the issue for me. I was kind of worried about the small straps, but I actually find them to be fairly comfortable. I don't really have any issue with that. But I did know that the handles are prone to showing wear, and so is this trim on the top, which is the issues with this bag. The canvas is in really good shape. It had a few marks that I easily cleaned up. The base is in good shape. The only issues are the leather, and of course I knew that I could get the leather repaired at Louis Vuitton. I could not get the canvas repaired. From looking at the purse forum, it seems as though, and I don't know that this is true at all, you have to go into your local Louis Vuitton and get a quote, but it seems like each handle costs about $90 to repair and this trim costs $60. I personally feel like these handles are kind of worn in a comfortable way, not in a bad way. There's nothing structurally wrong with them. They just have cracks all along the bottom, which is very common, and I think would just easily sort of happen again because as soon as you let it go, it flops over and it's just gonna crack. So I'm not really sure that I want to get the handles repaired. What I would consider getting repaired is this trim. So as you can see, this one has this kind of cut in the trim. And that is the biggest wear on this bag. There are a couple other places where the leather has some marking towards the top. It's lost some of the color, right? It's kind of chipped. That, not quite glazing, but feels almost like a glazing. So I could get that whole thing repaired, and I think $60 is really reasonable. So if that's what I got quoted, then I would probably repair that at some point. But again, I'm not sure that I would repair the handles until they got to be structurally difficult, I guess. I have heard some people say that replacing all the leather, including the side straps, is between like $350 and $400. And then I've heard some people say that it's going to cost $600. So I don't know where that discrepancy lies. But again, if it was $60, I think that's pretty good, and I would probably get that done. And then otherwise it's, you know, besides for the handles, it would basically be a brand new bag, especially if I chose to do the handles as well. So the last issue for me was that I prefer a zip top tote, not only because I think it looks more professional, but also I live in a snowy, wintry climate, and so I thought I could kind of use that more easily and travel with it if it's zipped and all sorts of things that I generally don't prefer for an open tote. But I did realize as a brown bag, and I wanted a brown bag, I thought it would be nice to have a Dame Ebene bag in my collection. And I have other totes. I have a Dior Panerai and a Prada Luxe tote that are in a tan and white that I only bring out on nice days, and I love them. And so I kind of realized, you know what, it doesn't really matter so much that it's open, because I basically will probably use it in the fall, in the spring, in the summer, less in the winter when that would be an issue. So I'm not super worried about the open top part, but that definitely was something that was a hesitation in me going ahead and buying this bag. So if you don't have this bag and don't want it, I'd love to know why. And if you have this bag and you love it, I'd also love to know why. I think it's really interesting to see why people really love it and then why some people stay away from it. So definitely comment that and let me know down below. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And I hope to see you in another video. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you later. Bye.